What's going on, y'all? It's Kilo, and we are back for another episode of the regular podcast on the regular network.
It's real.
So what's his name again? Kilo?
Shout out my Kilo, man. Kilo in the mother building.
What have you done for nothing?
What's going on, y'all? First podcast back, 2026. How is everybody doing? How's everybody's new year going? It's a new year. It's a new day. It's time to hit goals, reach goals, set goals, do things like that. It's time to chill with your family while you're off work, all that good stuff. How's everybody going, though? Please, before we do anything else, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you comment your thoughts below. Make sure you, if you have some extra time, please click on look at the description and click on the survey link so that we can figure out what you want to hear, those types of things, right? We got a special guest coming up later on this episode. We understand this is a senior level employee at Microsoft. He's going to give us some good game on getting into tech, how he got into tech, his background, what the tech looks like over the next 5 to 10 years if you want to invest or if you want to get in, where you should be looking. So, what I'm saying, we really appreciate that, from somebody that's been in this, a black man that's been in this since the mid 2000s. A black American man too. So how's everybody's week been? Shout out to everybody that watched last week's podcast episode. The clip I did about white dads in Hollywood, or white dads being exposed by Hollywood movies in the 90s, that got some good traction. A lot of y'all seem to agree. Well, actually, I didn't see anybody disagree. So everybody that commented agreed, and they seem to have some more input. They threw out the movie Hook, which I forgot all about Hook. People threw some other movies out there. I forgot to even mention the movie Kazam. Like, if y'all remember Kazam, like with Shaq, where he was the genie and that little boy, his dad, even when his dad was not messing with him at all. So shout out to y'all for engaging with that one. That was a great one. This week has been smooth for me. I haven't had, I was working a lot, but I haven't had a lot of phone calls, which I love. I haven't had a lot of emails and messages and stuff like that. I worked Monday to Wednesday on this week. I didn't end up doing anything on New Year's Eve. I wanted to. Ohio State played. That always throws me off on New Year's Eve. I don't like when we play on New Year's Eve. I wish they would just keep us on New Year's Day when we make it to the college playoff, right? But they love to put us on New Year's Eve because we are the premier team in all of college football, make the most money, all that, right? So they put us on New Year's Eve. That means I have to stay in the house to watch this game, and then I watch us lose. And I also didn't go where I was planning on going. It was just, But it's fine. It's fine. You understand? I had me a nice little bottle of some Clico, Rich Rosé, and that was very good. So it's cool. I wish we would have won. Now I'm just, because I live in the South, if my team, Ohio State, loses, I just root for the next Big Ten team up, right? Oregon and Indiana are still in it. I think Indiana just destroyed. Who did they play? Alabama. They beat them big crazy, 38-3, dogged them. So I'm gonna just go ahead and say Indiana beat us in the championship. Let them go ahead and win the whole thing, right? Let Indiana go ahead and win the whole thing. That'll be 3 straight years of Big Ten teams winning the national championship. So I'm cool with that, right? Being in the South, you can't let these SEC people get nothing, all right? I think only reason Miami even beat us, that's ACC. But only reason I think Miami beat us is because we were rusty, right? We had almost a full month off of football. So we looked very rusty. We didn't look like ourselves. Just throwing the ball up, not even paying attention to what's going on. Our offensive line could not protect him that well. The run game was weak. The first half it was 14-0 at halftime. That's not us at all. Yeah, we ended up trying to put together a little comeback. You know what I'm saying? Some stuff happened at the end of the game that we just made bad decisions and whatnot, bad play calling. We didn't look like ourselves, coaching and everything. So it's cool. It's cool. I can accept defeat. It is what it is. Miami got us. It's just going to be what it's going to have to be. Now, remember a couple weeks ago, I talked about how Taylor Swift gave away so much of her money that she made from her tour. It looks like we have another story similar to that I want to highlight, because Anybody doing anything like that, I think, needs to be highlighted. Let's look at this. Louisiana boss hands workers $240 million in bonuses after selling his company for $1.7 billion. So that's over 10% of his money that he gave away in bonuses, right? And this is actually a little bit more common than what Taylor Swift did. This is a lot more common. There's companies, when they'll sell, they'll end up giving the people that helped them get to that point, they'll give them a bonus. You know what I'm saying? Just to say, hey, it pretty much is like, I don't know if your job is safe, but at least this will help you, you know what I'm saying, feel good, and you helped me get here, so here's a nice chunk of money. Watch how much money. He gave them a lot of money. A Louisiana factory chief proved to be a real-life Santa Claus, giving each of his, so this is 540 people, 540 employees, six-figure bonus checks totaling $240 million. The generous gesture came after the benevolent boss sold the company for $1.7 billion. Graham Walker, the now former CEO of Fibrebond, told the Wall Street Journal that he would not agree to sell his company if prospective buyer Eaton did not earmark 15% of the proceeds for his employees, even though none of them own stock. Fire. Eaton is a big company in the I know that Eaton makes breakers, like circuit breaker stuff. So I would say in the electrical component space. The deal, which was completed earlier this year when Eaton acquired Fibrebond, triggered payouts to 540 full-time workers, averaging $443,000 per worker spread over 5 years. Oh my God. Now, I didn't read that part about the spread over 5 years, but still, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of extra money because it's $400,000 per employee over the next 5 years, which is what? $80,000 a year in bonuses? You can't beat that. Long-tenured employees receive far more, according to the Journal. So what it looks like to me is they might not have given, I don't know if they deducted it from the 1.7, but it sounds like he's saying, yo, give me 1.7 for my company. Also, over the next 5 years, y'all need to give my employees this type of bonus. That's what it sounds like happens. So is this a $1.9 million deal, a $1 billion deal, or is it 1.5 with bonuses? I don't know. Walker, 46, told the newspaper that the requirement was non-negotiable. That means his company was strong. Without it, he believed many workers who had carried the company through decades of booms, busts, and near collapse would walk out the door. In June, employees began receiving sealed envelopes detailing their individual awards. Some of them were overwhelmed with emotion, while others thought it was a prank, the Journal reported. Others sat in stunned silence. Leisha Key, a 29-year-old Fibrebond veteran who started in '95 making $5.35 an hour, broke down when she opened the letter, according to the report. Key, wow, 29 years. She's been there since '95, 30 years. Key, now 51, had risen to oversee facilities across Fibrebond's 254-acre campus, managing a team of 18. She reportedly used her bonus to pay off her mortgage and open a clothing boutique in a nearby town. So they got their bonuses. This happened mid-year, but I guess it's just making the news now. Before we were going paycheck to paycheck, Key was quoted as saying, "I can live now." Another employee used his money to take his entire extended family to Cancun, Mexico. Others paid down credit cards, bought cars outright, funded college tuition, or boosted retirement savings. One longtime assistant manager, Hung T.T. Blackwell, 67, received several $100,000 and immediately retired. Not mad at it. At 67, yeah, you can go ahead and retire, man. It's all good. Blackwell, an immigrant from Vietnam who spent more than 15 years in Fibrebond's logistics operations, said she used part of her bonus to buy her and her husband a Toyota Tacoma and set aside the rest. Nice truck. Now I don't have to worry, she said. My retirement is nice and peaceful. Blackwell said taxes took a heavy bite, nearly $100,000, but the net amount was still life-changing. If you get a bonus big enough where $100,000 is coming out for taxes, that's a huge bonus. Across Minden, a town of about 12,000 people, the money rippled quickly through the local economy. Godly. Can you imagine a stimulus like that in the economy? $240 million split, and it's split between 540 people, but you think about it, 540 is a huge number of people when we talk about the town only being 12,000 people. That's crazy. What is that, 4%? City officials said local retailers saw a surge in spending as employees paid off debts, renovated homes, and made long-delayed purchases. There's a lot of buzz about the amount of money being spent, Mayor Nick Cox told the Journal. Fibrebond was founded in 1982 by Walker's father, Claude Walker, with a dozen employees building shelters for electrical and telecom equipment. It thrived during the cellular boom of the 1990s, then nearly collapsed when its factory burned to the ground in 1998. Dang. The Walkers kept paying employees even as production stalled, a move workers still cite as the foundation of the company's loyalty culture. By the early 2000s, the dot-com bust slashed Fibrebond's customer base to just 3 clients, forcing layoffs that cut the workforce from roughly 900 to 320. So they was huge, 900 employees. Graham Walker and his brother later took over day-to-day operations, selling assets and paying down debt while searching for a new market. The turnaround came when a risky $150 million investment to pivot into building modular power enclosures for data centers, a gamble that paid off when cloud computing demand surged during the pandemic. That's crazy because you're going to hear in the interview I do with Ketuan Baldwin about how data centers are changing everything in tech. And this company was in early in making equipment that would help support the data center construction, which is massive. My company that I work for is also putting heavy investment in the data center construction game. Sales jumped nearly 400% in 5 years, drawing acquisition interest from larger industrial players. Walker told every potential buyer the same thing. 15% of the sale price had to go to employees. Okay, so that answered the question about the earlier question. When asked why he insisted on 15%, Walker told the Journal it's more than 10%. Advisors warned the condition could complicate the deal or invite lawsuits from former workers who missed out. Nonetheless, Walker pressed on. The bonuses were structured as retention awards, paid annually over 5 years, requiring most of the employees to stay with the company to receive the full amount. A provision Walker said was critical to keeping operations stable after the sale. Okay, now that's interesting. Because I'm thinking that they might have been worried that people would be fired if they, he wanted to give them like a reassurance. But really, he's saying, pay them and make it a 5-year payout. Because if you don't, they will leave without our family being involved with this company. So that family is so loved that the only thing keeping these people there for that long is literally the ownership being with the family. That's crazy. But that's fire, though. So shout out to Graham Walker. Shout out to the Walker family if anybody else was involved with that. But that's amazing. 15% of the sale going to employees. That's great. That's great. 540 employees getting, man. I know that town was stimulated. Minden, Louisiana. Let me look up what the racial demographics of that town are. Give me a second. Let me look this up here. Louisiana. Let's see. Minden has a diverse racial makeup with approximately 50.36% Black or African American and 44.27% white residents. So that makes this even more amazing to me. That's just me. Because this man said, you know what? I'm going to give this level of bonuses to a place with only with 12,000 people. And the area is 50% Black, 44% white. That's amazing. How many Black families probably benefited from that? I know the lady that they said rose up through the ranks and opened up a boutique in a town over. She was a Black woman. So a Black woman had been there for 30 years. They gave her a massive bonus. And look at that. She had enough money to pay her house off and start a business since June, right? So that's amazing. So the Walker family came through and really blessed a lot of black employees, and they blessed everybody. So you got Black people getting hundreds of thousands of dollars in bonuses over 5 years. Like, come on, man. You can't be mad. You can never hate on something like this. I can't anyway. I don't see how anybody could. Now, speaking of investing in Black people, One of my favorite new podcasts, I'm going to be real, this is really one of my favorite new podcasts. And honestly, I didn't even realize that they only had 1,000 subscribers, because when I see the videos, I just watch them. I don't even look at the views. I didn't realize the subscriber count. It's a podcast from a company that is redeveloping downtown Atlanta, right? And the podcast is called the Sun Belt Developers Podcast, right? And it's run by a guy named Tim, white dude named Tim. And he's just sitting there talking to a lot of white people. So it's like a white host talking to a lot of white business people. But the conversations are about the development of things in and around Atlanta, mostly in Atlanta, mostly downtown Atlanta. I think anybody that cares about business in Atlanta or wants to figure out how they can get into some type of business in Atlanta needs to be watching this podcast. And they seem to have just like an endless supply of old videos too. I go back and watch all the old podcasts too. But one in particular that I care to discuss today is with a person called Mark Toro, right? Mark Toro is an investor who'd been investing in development in Atlanta for a while now. But the reason I think this something that I heard him say was so important is because he said specifically that people were telling him not to invest in a black area, not Atlanta as a whole, but a black neighborhood called Camp Creek, in the Camp Creek area, like in that southwest, what they call like corridor of Atlanta, right? And that area, even with black, because there's a lot of, this is where I live now, the area I kind of generally live in now, there's a lot of black people with some money in this area. And he said people were still telling him he's crazy for putting his money into this area, right? Like, yo, you're going to lose all your money, like all it. But I want y'all to hear, it's more than just the fact that he invested. Listen to it. And I hope they don't flag me or whatever. If they do, then I don't know. I'm going to ask permission, but it's an amazing, hold on. It's an amazing thing. Hold up.
Well,
okay, give me a second here. And let me put, give me a second, y'all. Oh, okay. Oh. Give me a second, y'all. I'm coming. Okay. Okay. This is, if you want to look this podcast up, Tim Wright. Tim Wright, CCIM, right? Mark Toro on building community and value in Atlanta real estate. Now, now listen to the question and then the answer, okay?
well, I guess like going back into kind of the early days, like, was there any projects that really stood out to you as, I don't know, kind of pivotal and you learning the career, or some that you look back on early in your career as, I don't know, important, or maybe even like early projects at North American?
Yeah, probably the most, the bright line moment at North American would have been in 2002 or 3 in called Camp Creek Marketplace.
Okay, first of all, North American was a company, like a family office for some larger entity and global entity that invests and develops and all this. He was running their Atlanta office, right, in the 2000s. And he's telling about how Camp Creek was one of their big star projects.
It's northwest quadrant of 285 and Camp Creek Parkway. At the time, it was a retail desert. It was and is to this day a community that is 95% African American, had essentially been forgotten by the Atlanta commercial real estate community.
95% African American, completely forgotten about the commercial real estate industry of Atlanta, which is very odd.
And really sort of written off. And a broker by the name of Ernie Williams took me down there and said, "Hey, have you ever, you want to consider this deal?" I said, Ernie, I don't know a lot about that neighborhood. We've been working all over the north side and building shopping centers all over Gwinnett, Cobb, Fulton County. And I said, I've never turned right on Camp Creek Parkway because I lived in Cobb County at the time, would take 285 to the airport, turn left, go to the Hartsfield, and take off. And it was eye-opening. It was spectacular. In fact, we can probably go.
Yeah.
So then they run through, show it on the map, show the area. He said pretty much none of what we see today was there. I'm not from Atlanta originally, so it's all amazing to me to hear the history of this. But let me see.
With Atlantic Station, he said, "Burn it."
Oh my God.
And I thought, wow.
Oh, by the way, he's saying this was a huge project for them, right? Also, he developed Atlantic Station also. If y'all know about Atlantic Station, he's saying Camp Creek was bigger for their company than Atlantic Station was.
Strong opinion.
Those are strong opinions. And similarly, another, I'll call him a peer, back to Camp Creek Marketplace.
Yeah.
I was at Florida ICSC, and in Orlando, it would have been 2003 maybe. And this peer of mine and I were standing in the hallway at the convention, and he said, "You are going to lose your ass on Camp Creek Parkway."
No way.
I said, "Really?" He said, "There is no money down there." I said, "Have you been there lately?" I mean, it is a very large, very dense, very affluent African American community, and because these people are black, the Atlanta commercial real estate industry wrote them off. Similarly with Atlantic Station, the Atlantic Station.
Let me run that back so y'all can hear what this man's saying.
A very large, very dense, very affluent African American community. There's no money down there. I said, "Have you been there lately?" I mean,
there's no money down there. I said, "Have you been there lately?" This is a white man talking. He's telling a story about how he's talking to one of his peers in real estate development, and the white man talking to another white man saying, "The fact that you not hip, you ain't been down there. It's a large community of black people with money, and y'all ain't nobody serving them. I'ma serve them. Don't even worry about it."
It is a very large, very dense, very affluent African American community, and because these people are black, the Atlanta commercial real estate industry wrote them off. Similarly with Atlantic Station, the Atlantic Station was patronized by a lot of people who didn't necessarily live in Midtown proper, call it Midtown East. So Ansley Park wasn't frequenting Atlantic Station.
Yeah.
So bought it, used it as an incubator to devise what we now call our secret sauce. So,
what they call a secret sauce. Listen to what he's about to tell you. He used Atlantic Station because what he's saying right there. If you didn't catch what he was saying, even though Atlantic Station is in the location that it's in, the people that live around there are not who shop there. Atlantic Station is also patronized by a lot of the black people from other parts of the city because they live in parts of the city that don't have any shopping like that, so they shop in Atlantic Station. He's telling you the people that live over there don't is not who shops there. The black people in the west side and the southwest side and all that, that's who goes down there.
So all of the soft skills, the valet and concierge and music and lighting and social media and PR and activations and events and community engagement, all those things that are more service and hospitality than real estate, we learned and incubated using Atlantic Station as our lab. We didn't lay a single brick. We bought it for $26 million, we bought it for $74 million, put $26 million in it, sold it for $200. So it was a good day.
It's a good flip.
On
That's great.
Again,
Yeah.
multiple on invested capital, close second to Camp Creek Marketplace.
Wow.
And then third, went to Avalon. So I lived in Midtown at the time.
So, y'all hear what he's saying, right? The reason that this is important to me is not even just about the other white people that are investors that was writing off these black areas, right? Or black shoppers, right? It's not even just that. The reason it's important to me is to hear that this is Atlanta, right? He's talking about the 2000s. He ain't talking about the 1960s, 70s, or 40s, or 50s, and all like that. This is the 2000s. Atlanta was run by black people already in the 2000s, right? So if Atlanta had all this black money in the 2000s, Atlanta, the city of Atlanta was run, and Fulton County largely, especially South Fulton, where that's at, that's South Fulton County, run by black politicians. How is it possible that it took for a real like the broker, the real estate broker, which was Ernie Williams, that he called out, a black man, he couldn't find anybody else to invest in that area. He couldn't find any black people with money that would invest in that area. So then he just found this white man that said that would give it a chance, that would come look at it. And they said, oh, this is genius. Why would he be the first one to see the value and put in retail? Because he said that there was 60 acres in that development at first. It ended up expanding to 240 acres, right? How is it possible that no black real estate developers during that time, during the 2000s, we're not talking, there's no athletes, no media people, none of that, any other rich business people saw the value in developing Camp Creek Marketplace themselves, or calling it whatever they wanted to call it, but developing that part of Camp Creek? How's that possible? How do people so often talk about black consumerism and overconsumption when it comes to spending on items at retail in America? Yet when it's time to put the money up to build things and develop things in black areas, how is it so often that nobody sees the value in it? If they say we spend all this money, but if beyond that, I'm more questioning why the black developers did not see the value in that. I'm not mad at Mark Toro for seeing the value in it and going and investing in it, because I shop at Camp Creek Marketplace all the time, multiple times a week, sometimes, right? But I was just there a few days ago, right? I shop there. This is where we do our shopping at. And where I live at, that's where we do our shopping at. I'm not mad at him for developing that, right? Great investment. He's saying this is the most successful as far as multiples on investment, multiples versus the investment that company has ever done. And the second most is Atlantic Station. And Atlantic Station is in Midtown Atlanta, in one of the hottest parts of the city right now. And the Camp Creek was still a better investment for them, right? We need to be seeing these things, right? We shouldn't be following behind anybody else. This literally in an affluent area. I know somebody around here at that time had to know some rich black people that could have put some money together to develop that thing and have it black owned or something like that, right? So just keep these things in mind, man. And like I said, if you care about Atlanta business and Atlanta, the development, downtown Atlanta, especially what's going on at Centennial Yards right now, you need to be watching this podcast. I'm telling you, Sunbelt Developers Podcast, great show, great interviews, great people coming on there talking about business. These are not celebrities. These are hardcore business people. We talking about hundreds, millions of dollars of deals, billions of dollars worth of deals they talking about. You are not going to get this level of information anywhere else, from my opinion. As far as Atlanta, I've been in Atlanta trying to follow Atlanta business stuff for years. This is the first time I'm seeing this level of business people in Atlanta talking this freely about the business deals they're doing in this city. That's some people that are from Atlanta, some people that moved here in the last few decades or even in the last few years and are doing these massive development projects. I don't know why you should be watching this podcast. All right, cool. The view count don't matter. Subscribers don't matter. Watch this podcast. Right? Now, Let's jump right into this good interview that we had with our special guest. His name is Ketuan Baldwin, tech giant. You know what I'm saying? You might have heard of him before, might not have, but you need to listen to his story. It's a great story. We can learn a lot from him. You know, black people in tech, this is something we need to champion more of. We want to see more engineers. We want to see more architects. We want to see more developers and everything in between, man. Shout out to him for joining us. Let's get right to it. All right, we got our special guest in the building, our brother Ketuan Baldwin. How you doing, sir?
Wonderful. Good to be talking to you this evening.
Okay, great, man. I don't know if you noticed, but I introduce you to people. When I say something, yo, we got a guy from Youngstown, I'm like, yo, we got a Youngstown legend. That's what I call you.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, big time. I see you got the Yo Crash Rage Room stuff on. Shout out to
Yes,
Mara.
sir.
Shout out to Mara.
Major.
I'm wearing the Marcus Davis stuff, Triple M. So this is a Youngstown party right now. How you feeling this evening?
Man, I'm great, man. Just, glad to get to the holidays. Trying to start off the year strong. Just excited about what 2026 is all about.
Yeah. You map goals out? You do that type of thing?
A little bit, I kind of do some high level things, and then I get a little bit more strategic when I think about it from a quarterly standpoint.
Okay.
So I got some high level things that I want to accomplish from a health standpoint, some things that I want to accomplish from a personal finance standpoint, and then some things that I want to accomplish just from a family standpoint as well. So I try to keep it high level, and then once I kind of get into the thick of things, I set quarterly goals and break them down week by week.
Nice. All right, so let's get into a quick intro. So your name is Ketuan Baldwin, of course, right? I said that. And then you're from Youngstown, Ohio, right? But can we get a little bit? You said born and raised?
Yes, sir.
Let's get a little bit more into the story though. What would you say your story is like? What's your background like?
Man, it's my background real simple, man. I was raised on the South Side. Grew up South Side in and out. From age 0 up through college. I went to college in my hometown, Youngstown State University. There did a major in computer information systems in undergrad, both an associate's and a bachelor's degree. So my childhood was really, was raised by a single mother, but I had plenty of family to both give me, decent examples of what being a man was all about. So I had that balance. I got 5 sisters, so I knew what life was like around a lot of women, so it gave me a little bit of understanding of navigating the world. But in general, man, I, just like everybody else, man, I grounded. I got an understanding of my community. I dove into some things, entrepreneurship when I was young. I was a party promoter in my college days. Still worked a lot of little side hustles here and there just to gain a lot of experience of what the world is about in commerce. So that was really my start, before I got into the big boy game.
Nice. What you consider the big boy game?
Like a career post college.
Okay. Yeah.
You got benefits, you got, a certain level of responsibility that's really dependent upon you versus like when you're in college, I work retail jobs, I was great at it, but if I wasn't there, they would still go operate and get things done.
Right.
Consider a big boy job where, you got a level of responsibilities to execute that. Hey, if you're not doing it, that could mean revenue loss, that could mean an impact to the business.
What years, what's your college years? What years we talking?
Associates was 04, bachelor's was 06, and my master's in business was in 2012.
Okay. Nice. All from YSU, Youngstown State?
All from Youngstown State, yes, sir.
Nice. So we was actually on campus at the same time then, because I was in early college during that time, the early college program.
Okay.
I was there during that time. So, if you seen some little barefaced little boys running around, I was probably one of them trying to be grown. I actually, my freshman year of early college, they let us get into, we had to take a placement exam pretty much for the math side, and we did an English placement exam also. But I didn't score high enough on the English part for them to allow me to start taking English college classes at that point. But I scored high enough on the math for them to let me get into algebra and trigonometry It was 1501 at that time. And they said it was high enough that they let me take computer science too, because they was like, hey, you're a little advanced, my guy. So they let me get in there. So yeah, I was running around that computer science thing. That was actually fun to me at that time. What made you get into tech? Like at that time, because it wasn't computers weren't even that advanced yet, from what if we compare it to today, right? So
Yeah, so good question for sure. So, you think I was in high school. I graduated high school in '01.
yeah,
So the world was totally different than it is today. That we talking 25 years ago, actually. But during that time, I went to Chauvin, and I was in a tech prep program. Tech prep is kind of, not quote unquote early college, but it does give you exposure to some college level courses, and I got some college level credits. The tech prep program that I was part of was information technology. So essentially, it was kind of like a first level Cisco course, along with like some basic like productivity programming, type courses of like Microsoft Word, Excel, giving you advanced knowledge on that type of stuff. But then we really kind of went deep into the Cisco networking stuff. So I got exposure into the networking world when I was like 16, 17 years old. I hated it. It showed me one side of kind of the technology world that was like, I understand that you can navigate and make money with this, but this is boring. Just, kind of putting together cables, and connecting computers. So, I'm glad I got that exposure to let me know that this is an opportunity, but what else is available to me? So that's why I started to explore a little bit more things once I got to the college level.
Yeah. Now that's actually interesting now that you say that, because both of us coming up in Youngstown and just in the regular, what high school did you go to?
Cheney.
Okay. So you went to Cheney. In the public schools, like in the Youngstown City School District, there's not a lot of programs like that. But they did have Chauvin, and then they did create early college. So just exposing these Youngstown kids to these different, just seeing it for a little bit, however long your program was, just seeing it that little bit of time made you say, I mean, I might not like networking, but I like something about computers, right? And then I only took one computer class. It was that computer science class, but that was enough that later on in life I was able to get back into it and I at least understood some of the terminology, nomenclature, lingo, whatever you want to call it, right? So that's actually big because, there's a lot of issues with the Youngstown School District, always has been for the last couple of decades. But if we got more kids in some of these, tech programs, I know a lot of people going to nursing from the Chauvin program, and I think they used to have a mechanic. Did they have mechanic stuff back in those days too?
Yep. They had mechanics. They had like hospitality.
Right.
They had the nursing joints, cosmetology. I think they had food service,
Right.
childcare.
Is Chauvin still around?
From my understanding, it is maybe not to the extent that it was in your day or my day, but there's still some component of it. And I think a lot of the partnerships of what the schools has is with Mahoning County Technical Center now as well. So there's probably still some component of programming, but I don't know the details around it.
Okay. Yeah, so I would say that's very important for our city, especially our city where there's not a lot of economic power going on right now for certain groups of people. I would hope that if it's not still a strong program, that they get it back. They're consolidating high schools right now. So next year, all the city schools will be going to one high school. So, I mean, that means that they're taking budget that they wouldn't have to operate two schools. Hopefully they don't completely cut the budget and they use some of that money for some type of extra programming. That's not sports related, because Youngstown's a big sports city. That's not sports related. And they go to the future, STEAM, STEAM, right? So you were in Chauvin at a tech, in a tech program, right? So then you get to college. By the time you get to college, all right, I'm doing computer science major. I'm doing some type of computer major, right? So you get an associate's and a bachelor's. So you're already on track in the mid 2000s. You already know that that's the way. Did you know that's the way to go? Or are you just thinking like, oh, this is a good job right now? Or you're looking at future? What were you looking at that time?
I looked at it at the future,
Okay.
and for me, I was interested in a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
I really like a lot of components of accounting. I liked it marketing, but computers or technology in general is the one component where I could touch all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't limited to a single space. So for me, like I'm the type of person I get bored real quick.
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm an accountant, it's like, all right, this is cool. Or if I'm a teacher, this is cool for a year or two, but it's like, what else is it?
Right.
The space that I'm in, I can be all of that. So it's all about what the day comes about. So I always try to find a space where I can be creative enough. I'm also flexible enough where I can learn a lot at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, tech is super flexible. When I got in, and I'm realizing that they pretty much consider tech an industry, but it's not. There is a tech industry, like you have these Googles and Microsoft and Oracle, stuff like that. But then there's also tech at every single company. So
Right.
you got the tech industry, then you have tech as a service, I guess. This whole
It's the
thing
shared
as
service that brings everything together. It's
right.
nothing within the organization. They can't operate without tech.
Yeah.
Just
So
like,
tech is in every
you know,
industry.
yep,
Yeah. Because I'm in the construction sector, HVAC industry as a developer, right? So you can't escape it. It's everything. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you work at a pillow factory. There's some tech in there helping you make those pillows, right?
absolutely.
So then your, I guess, title is you work at Microsoft, right? And your title
Work out my
is Senior Cloud Solutions Architect. Is that the right order of the term?
senior cloud. So they actually just changed our title last year.
Okay.
So senior AI and cloud solutions
Oh,
architect.
okay. Now tell me, what does that
Cloud and
encompass?
AI. Cloud and AI. There you
Okay.
go.
And what type of job, like, what are you doing in that role?
So, easy way to explain it. I'm trying to be cognizant of the varying levels of listeners.
Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, what I do is I work with very large organizations, which we call them enterprises.
Yeah.
And I help them kind of have alignment around what their business goals are and aligning that with like technology solutions. So essentially, they can lay out, their 3 to 5 year roadmap of what they want to do, and I work with them to give them the best of both worlds of how their business can achieve those goals with technology solutions.
Mhm.
And typically, those solutions are with a cloud service and or an AI solution.
Yeah.
So in some cases, that can be just an education component. In some cases, that's implementation. In some cases, that's helping them understand the budget changes of what that would be for the future,
Mhm.
how much money they need to set aside, helping them find partners to implement things, and sometimes that's troubleshooting and helping them implement things. So
Yeah.
day by day, depend upon like the customer's maturity of where they are. That could be anything from being heads down coding to working with C-level executives to understand the strategy upon what they want to do.
Yeah. So you come in after sales. Sales is done already. You're not doing any sales work, right?
There's some sales component of it depending
Okay.
upon the customer for sure.
Okay. Okay. Nice. So we're talking large enterprise. So we're looking at design. You're helping them design systems. What type of employee count are we talking about when we say large enterprise? Are we looking at like market cap, or are we looking at employee volume or employee quantity,
So
or
the
both?
sector I've worked with specifically over the last 2 3 years is retail and consumer goods.
Okay.
So I'm working with the largest retailers in the world. So most of them have 40,000 plus
Yeah.
employees, and some of them have 100,000,
Mm.
200, 300,000 plus employees globally.
Nice. Nice. There's only a few in that conversation, so we could probably use our imagination to figure out who we're dealing with here. That's massive. We're talking Fortune 100 at that level right there. Nice. So
Sure.
I saw another label on your LinkedIn that said technologist. Can you explain that? What's a technologist? What is that? Or how do you define it, I
So
guess?
I look at it as like, um, you know, some days I have to be a data expert. Some
Mm.
days I have to be an infrastructure expert.
Yeah.
Some days I have to be a developer. And in some form or fashion, architect does kind of sum that up. But outside of work, I'm also doing things in automation, and just creating email blasts or whatever the case may be, and consulting to small businesses that want to take their business to the next level. So to sum it up and try to articulate every single component of technology that I cover, I just call myself a technologist.
Yeah.
So that way, I'm not limited in what I have the ability to do, and the conversations and the people that I want to engage with. It isn't like, oh, he's the database guy. I can do that, but that's not what I'm limited to.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I wouldn't call it a Swiss art, like a utility person, but like the highest level of that. Because you talk about architecture, the reason you could be an architect is because you've done all these things that encompass the architecture, right? You got experience with data, got experience with development, got experience with setting up infrastructures. At least if you didn't set them up, you at least help people design them at some point. Oh, that makes sense. Now you've been at Google before, also, right?
Correct. I spent a few years at Google. Was it 2020 to 2022? So I was there for 2 years for sure. Great time, great experience.
Yeah.
Gave me a different set of skills that I didn't have at Microsoft, or necessarily I couldn't get at Microsoft, because it was a different approach and a different strategy for what they wanted to do to attract customers.
Right.
But I leverage those same skills in everything that I do today as well.
Nice. So you worked at some of the biggest tech companies on the planet, right? Now,
Right.
this is in as far as Black people in tech go, especially at that level, there's not a lot, right? And then when you talk
Right.
about Black Americans, there's even less, because most of the Black people in tech are West African, right? So there's different races and ethnicities, but most of them just aren't Black American, right? And then you have a name that's unmistakably a Black American name, right? Just like I do. Do you have you dealt with any of these microaggressions or little just things that might have bothered you racially, or anybody, playing with you in certain type of ways? You dealt with any of that?
I have, and I guess what I've learned over time is not to let it emotionally impact me.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I'm here to do a job. I'm here to provide a service. I'm here to make an impact. I'm here to get this money. It ain't about, you ain't got to like me. You ain't got to like the way I look. You ain't got to like my hair. You ain't got to like nothing about me. But I'm here to make an impact. I'm here to help you grow. I'm here to help your organization grow. Or even, sometimes you can have those type of things with coworkers and not just customers as well. But when they come about, I've learned to navigate it in a way where, where you're able to leverage your emotional intelligence around how you deal with things.
Right.
Because everybody's different. Some people have it. They don't understand your background. They don't understand, your race. They don't understand the impacts of some of the things they say. So always try to give people a little grace in what they do, because everybody comes from different backgrounds. They don't know how things impact other people. So
Yeah.
I try my best to give everybody some component of grace. But if I need to have that conversation and be stern, I don't have no problem with that as well either.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it's all. It's definitely a balance. And you've lived different places, because you started in tech in Ohio, right?
Yeah. So when I graduated undergrad in '06, I moved to Toledo for a little while. I worked in banking and financial services for many years before I got into big tech.
Yeah.
So there I worked for Sky Bank, which is now Huntington Bank, which is a Midwest region bank, throughout Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky. And there I was a programmer, developer, focused on mortgage origination systems. So mortgage origination systems are basically systems that give you approval for a mortgage loan when you go into a bank. So it does like all the underwriting. It gives you the approval for the flood insurances that you need. It does all of these different things in order for a lender to give you the approval process and ensure that you met every milestone along the way in order for them to distribute funds to you for your purchase. So that taught me, a lot about the the process of banking, the credit score, and how those things go into effect, and how some people perceive as certain things being racist. But in actuality, there's a very entailed process that goes along with things. And in some cases, Black people are at a disadvantage when you find out the true data around those things, but it isn't necessarily always related to being racist. It's just the fact that we don't understand the components of credit, and how that relates to income to debt ratios, and income, and all of those different things that go into somebody lending you money. So the outside effects of it could be, hey, you have a higher interest rate, but it's not because you're Black, it's because the debt to income ratio is higher than most other people.
It's interesting that you went back to discuss the banking thing, because that kind of, so it's tech the whole time, but big tech, like these technology companies like Microsoft, Google versus banking, they give you different expertise to go and apply. You have the option to go apply that in outside projects that you might get into, because you also are in business yourself, right? There's a lot of talk in this podcast space about working a 9 to 5 versus having businesses, but you got a good balance, right? You have a great job, but then you also invest and have businesses on the side, right? Because you own some real estate also, right?
Yeah.
So you have real estate and you invest in other companies. You have a group that you invest with, right?
Yep.
So
I've been an angel investor for the last 4 years or so, something that I helped start up when I was at Google.
That's nice. Now, what's the balance of how can we figure out a way to say, okay, I'm learning these things from these companies. It's time for me to maybe go apply it so I could benefit from what I'm learning here. Like, how did you find that balance to say, oh, I know what I can apply that to? That's perfect.
So, when it came to angel investing, it's one of those things where one of the things I'm an advocate around is like equity and wealth. So you have a lot of people that look like us from small communities, or even Black people from larger communities. We all have aspirations of being wealthy, but we don't know what that is. One of the things that happens in the private markets, when you think about venture capital, you think about angel investing, it's one of the cheat codes where people get wealthy relatively quickly because they've invested in something like Google, or they've invested in something like Uber or Netflix early before it hit the public markets. So what's happening with this angel group, we're trying to solve two problems. One is that people who are Black, or from a disadvantaged background, for say, they don't get the funding to support their ideas. So they might have the next Google, but they don't know where to get funding from, because you can't go to a bank and with an idea. So we solved that problem. Then the second problem that we are attempting to solve is that there's not a lot of Black people in those private markets.
Yeah.
So the people who are getting rich from it are from those traditional backgrounds. They're white males, and they're just running the play over and over again.
Yeah.
That's how people become billionaires, because hey, we've invested in this. We take that same money where we made a few million, we invest a few million into eBay. We do it again. We invest into the next company, and eventually you become a billionaire. So that's the Elon Musk way. That's how he did it. So now we have people who've gained those expertise in those private markets where we can invest in it and have the conversation around what is the risk, the rewards, and those type of activities, so that we can be a part of it. How do we get a seat at the table? How do we become part of the conversation in order to leverage what is happening in that world that most people don't have access to?
Right. That's amazing. Now, you said y'all started this 4 years ago?
Yeah. I think it was, what's this, 26? Yeah, 2022. Yeah, somewhere around that part. Yeah.
Okay. Have you heard? Now, this was probably a big story in that world, right? The Fearless Fund. You heard about that? Where it's like a venture capital firm that was started to invest in Black, pretty much Black and minority businesses, right? But I think when it was sometime sometime in the middle of Biden's term somewhere, they end up being like a lawsuit against them to stop them from being able to do that, right? Did you hear about that?
I don't know the complete story, but
Okay.
high level, I've heard about it, but not the complete
Did
details.
it make y'all nervous at all? Like, did it say like, oh wait, we might need to pump the brakes, or did activity slow down, or did any stories like that scare y'all out of doing this?
No,
Okay.
mainly because we actually there's let me kind of give you the history around the group first, and that'll kind of help you to understand how we've grown. The group started as just people who worked at Google, and one of those individuals happened to work in Google Ventures, which is the uh, Google organization or business that invests as a venture component to other small businesses.
Okay.
So they knew the ins and out of how that is done. And they said, like, hey, this is something Google already does.
Yeah.
Let's focus this on, markets, individuals that don't necessarily get the funding and the opportunities that happen in the place. So they obviously knew the laws around it. They knew the components, the structure of around the execution. The problem was they just needed to crowdsource a lot of the funding that needed to happen to bring the organization together.
Right.
So once those components came in play, there wasn't a lot of risk um, from I guess a law viewpoint. The risk just became in who we decide to invest in,
Yeah.
and if we see potential returns in the future, and that's with any type of investment in itself.
No, I love that you said that just now because, excuse me, that's my lips dry, so you can't see me. I'm about to put some chapstick on. Hold up. I love that you said that, right? Because this is something I've been advocating for. Because a lot of people think that when they look at the business landscape in America and they look at the economy and they think there's no black people that know how to do certain things, right? And I'm like, we might not have businesses that compete with Google, Microsoft, Oracle, any of these, but there's black people sometimes high up at all of these companies that know exactly how to do it because they do it every day. So I'm glad you said there's a person at Google who works in the ventures department and he knows the laws, or he or she knows the laws. So it's a lot less of a risk to jump in that space because we're already operating from the same standards that we learned at Google. We don't even really need these people and that's not to knock the Fearless Fund project, but they may not have had that level of VC
Right.
experience. Because you're talking about Google, that's like being in the NBA and going to teach somebody about basketball. Like your word is a lot different than the word of somebody who played at the Rucker Park, and the Rucker Park is great. But when you worked at Google
Yep.
and you help Google invest in other smaller companies, that's a whole different ballgame. So I love that you said that because that's something that there's a lot of us out here that, like when it comes to, and I just reached out to a company a few days ago because I'm like, I'm ready to jump into something. But I'm like, we need to start taking our expertise that we get from these large corporations and companies and apply what we know from our jobs to these projects. Like I would start a business and it had nothing to do with what I do day to day. And I'm like, why do I keep trying to start businesses in things I'm not expert in? There's something I'm an expert in and I'm helping people make a lot of money, helping them save a lot of money, making their business more efficient. But then I go start a business. I want to make a cotton candy company. It's like, what am I doing? So, no, that's great, man. I love that the background for the fund that you're part of, or the angel investment company that you're part of, has that type of level of expertise. That's amazing. Where you see
Yeah.
these things going in 5 to 10 years? When I say things, I mean what's next in tech.
So really, tech is gonna be the wild wild west for a while.
Okay.
Obviously, there's these components of data centers. There's over the
Yeah.
next 3 to 5 years, you go continue to have this heavy investment in data centers. I mean, there's been a heavy investment in data centers over the last 10 to 15 years. But the shift now is data centers that are specifically AI focused,
Right.
where a data center can have thousands of servers that process information for many different companies. The problem is those thousands of servers aren't enabled for AI. They don't have the chips for AI. They don't have the processing storage that is needed to produce AI services from generative AI and other AI components. Now it's like now that we figured out like the infrastructure component of how AI works, we need to deploy that at scale. So
Yeah.
now you have all of these companies investing billions, close to trillions of dollars in building the modern data centers. Even though, modern, it sounds like these data centers are old. They're only, 8 to 15 years old. But now that they have these new components of chips, they need to invest in new data centers in order to meet the demand of how all of these organizations want. And it's a risk and reward, and that's what's was part of the layoffs that have happened in probably the last 12 to 18 months for big tech firms like the Amazons of the world, the Apples of the world, Google, Microsoft. It's that they're like, hey, we have a portion of capital that we're investing in humans. And if we want to meet the demands of our customers, we need this amount of money to do it. And we've already, exhausted all of these other components, but we need $100 billion. What can we do to get $100 billion quickly? Lay off a portion of the workforce. And it's very different from what we've seen in traditional business because all of these organizations are extremely profitable. So it looks different from a balance book perspective. So, now it's, just really engaging in being sure that these organizations are executing as quick as possible to build data centers so we can meet the demands of the millions of customers that they have around the world.
Yeah. That's big because they're every time there's a big tech layoff announced, people are like, but they just made this much profit this quarter or last quarter or this year. But it's exactly what you just said. We need that. We need that money right there. We got to put that somewhere. Yeah, we're doing good, but we got these data centers cost $10 billion each. And it's just going. We're trying to build them faster and faster and faster because they're throwing them up in India like it's nothing. They got the government backing theirs in China and India. So we have businesses trying to compete with governments. It's a little bit, it's a race right now. And I see it. I see they talking about making sure. Well, there's a battle between like the people of the community where these are being built and the companies trying to build them. Have you been seeing this? They've been talking about water shortages and the cost of water and all this type of stuff. It's a big battle right now. I mean, if y'all have the listeners, do some research on these data centers and the construction of them, man. It's very interesting right now. They're actually putting one by where I live right now. Yeah, man.
Yeah. You have that battle of the local risk and concerns versus, the actual impact and benefits the community gets from it.
Right.
So you think about it, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago when we found out that there was components of oil across the United States and they were digging the Utica Shale and all of these other components and communities fought against it. Like, hey, if you start fracking, this is the components, the negative impact of that. So, I mean, obviously you should have a component of research that goes into it, but you still need to make the best decision for the revenue streams that need to happen. You see all of these communities around the country are trying to tax people more for, homeowners, property insurance, local income taxes, state income taxes. They all are trying to find new revenue streams. And this is a potential revenue stream that can change the impact of community where you can get new roles, you can get better schools, you can pay teachers more. So you have to balance the risk of, hey, maybe you're paying $2-3 more on water, but you're able to bring so many more resources to the community that are much needed that people are begging for. And I don't know the right answer because every community is different upon what their needs are and what that risk looks like, right. But you have to understand the full picture before just making a decision upon one fact that someone may be presenting to you.
Yeah. You back in the Youngstown area, right?
Back in Youngstown. I moved back to Youngstown in August of, I guess, last year now, 2025. So it's been about 4 or 5 months, but in 13 years since I lived here. So it's an adjustment. Yeah. But I'm enjoying the journey so far.
Fire. How's fatherhood going for you? You teaching your daughters the tech stuff, or you letting them choose the path?
I'm letting them choose the path. They understand what's possible for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm letting them choose their own lane. They go, I'm in position where they have that opportunity where, whatever they decide to do for college, I got it. Whatever they decide to go into entrepreneurship, I'm going to be their first investor. Whatever the case may be, whatever route that they choose, I'm thankful that I have the opportunity to support them in a way that, a lot of people aren't able to do.
Right. That's fire. That's fire. The new mayor just got sworn in Youngstown. How you feel about it? You optimistic about it, or what's the thoughts?
So Derek McDowell, I know Derek. Actually, he went to Chinese. Well, he's a few years older than me.
Okay.
I mean, optimistic, yes. I think, what's happening in Youngstown now, we've gotten to a point, and you'll see some of the reports now where crime has been stabilized. I think there were only 15 or 16 murders in 2025, which is like the best year since I think the 60s or 70s. So you have those components to build upon. And I think we've also gotten to the point where we understand the mistakes that we made.
Yeah.
We understand the mistakes that we made from certain decisions in business, certain decisions in politics. And now instead of like trying to fight against that, we're like, hey, here's a clean slate. Let's learn from what we've done, build and push forward. Population has gone down steadily, over so many years, and now population is finally stabilized. Now it's about like, how do we reinvest in the people?
Right.
Youngstown has made big bets on places like General Motors, etc., for many years, and they've always had the opportunity to use that same funding to invest in the entrepreneurs and businesses that already exist and the people that are already here. So now I'm hoping that that type of mindset exist here, because nobody is coming to save Youngstown. Nobody is coming to save Ohio. We got to save ourselves. We got to invest in ourselves. We got to invest in our people to push forward. And there are some incredible people who have great ideas. They just don't have the, quote unquote, the funding in some cases. And they might not have the resources to push their idea to the next level. Those ideas may sound small, where it's only one or two people pushing it today, but if they get the right funding and the right resources, those can be businesses that cater to 100, 150 employees 3 or 4 years from now.
Yeah.
So, I think, the direction is good. I mean, obviously there's small things that I think, that probably still need to be worked on. But I think he's putting a nice balance of existing administration, individuals with experience in local government, with fresh new people who bring outside perspective as well. So I'm excited to see what comes.
Nice. Pretty much anybody who gets to a certain point in business, they either go and become a politician or they start to influence the politicians around them, right? You see yourself getting into politics, or you just want to stay on the business side and be influential?
So, and this is something you probably don't know about me. Before, when I lived in Youngstown 13 years ago, I was a political consultant. So I was in the ears of any of the politicians. I helped different politicians get elected at various local levels, from school board to city council. So I had the component of influence and understanding of the political cycles and what it takes different groups to vote. And that's probably still true today to a certain extent. But I think, a lot of growth within myself, I'll probably stay away from, quote unquote, being the front line politician.
Right.
This doesn't necessarily fit the outcomes that I'm looking for within myself. But as far as advisory, and just understanding of connecting the dots, I'm always working with people in the background, and people who are looking for advice and that understanding. So, maybe not to the level as I did before, but maybe that's something that will come about over time.
Nice. No, I didn't know that about you. That's fire. So as we wrap it up, and I do appreciate your time. I went over how much time I said, but the convo was so good I couldn't stop.
No worries.
You got anything you want to tell people about? I know, man, you do a scholarship. You got a lot going on. So we couldn't get into every single thing. But if you want to leave us with something that we should know about you, or we should know about one of your ventures, or getting into tech, any advice or anything about yourself?
So I think the one thing I'll say is that and this is probably more towards the people in Youngstown. There's probably a lot of people that I don't even know that I've moved back to Youngstown because I've never really, said a few things here and there. But as I'm ramping up and learning various things about the community, I'm always looking for those, those opportunities to make an impact. So if you got something going on and there's something that I can provide, whether that's advice, resources, etc., reach out. I'm more than happy to help. This is my town. This is what raised me. So I'm happy to support anything that's happening. And if there's any questions that you have that, as he mentioned, as far as the legacy scholarship that I have, the capital investments that I'm making, and even the small businesses that I'm investing in, both from a consulting standpoint and with financial resources, I'm happy to share and connect y'all to the resources that I have as well.
Nice. You involved in the Yo Crash from an investment standpoint?
I'm not.
Okay.
She had the hoodies on sale, so I went crazy the week before Christmas.
Yeah. I like those joints. All right, man. We appreciate it, man. I'm definitely gonna make that last piece a clip because we need people to know in the area. Hey, you got an idea? They was doing a little Shark Tank type of thing a couple of years ago. I don't know if you've seen that. Terry Vidal was part of that and that whole thing. But I appreciate your time, man.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate you, man.
All right,
Always
I
happy to
appreciate it,
help.
man. Have a good evening.
You too. Take care.
All right. Is everybody or is anybody familiar with this lawsuit that Drake is dealing with right now? Okay, let's read it. In the United States, let me see something real quick. Excuse me. In the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia, Lashana Ridley and Tiffany Hines, stake U.S. users within the United States individually on behalf of all others similarly situated, so this is a class action lawsuit, versus Sweepstakes Ltd. Or Sweepstakes Limited, doing business as Stake.us, Aubrey Drake Graham, PKA Drake, Aiden Ross, and George Wynn are the defendants in this class action lawsuit. Plaintiffs Lashana Ridley and Tiffany Hines, plaintiffs by and through their attorneys, bring this action individually and on behalf of all others similarly situated against the defendants, Sweepstakes, Drake, Aiden Ross, and George. Collectively, the defendants. Plaintiffs make the following allegations upon information and belief, except those allegations as the plaintiffs or their attorneys, which are based on personal knowledge. Now, they're being sued. But I want to read through this because it's a sticky situation now. It involves using stakes as some type of illegal gambling thing to get proceeds passed between people in different places so that we can pay for botting operations to make Drake's music seem like it's streaming more than it actually is, and to make Drake seem more popular by influencing algorithms and things like this. All right. The very interesting part is this is kind of what Drake was suing Universal about and Spotify about. He was saying that they were using unfair botting tactics to make Kendrick's song, Not Like Us, seem more popular than it really was, and it was harmful to his brand, reputation, and his bottom line. And now it's coming out that he was doing that. And part of this lawsuit, part of this documentation even says that what he was doing was harmful to other artists. Now, before we even read this, because I definitely got to read this, before we read it though, do y'all think Universal is behind this? This is very odd to me because it's coming from somebody in Virginia, two people in Virginia, Lashana Ridley, which sounds like a black name to me, and Tiffany Hines, right? So we're talking about black women coming together to sue Drake over stake. Do we think Universal could have found somebody and put the battery in their back and say, yo, let's do this? Or do we think this was naturally just coming anyway? Because some of the wording in this lawsuit seems to take advice or take inspiration or influence from Drake's lawsuit against Universal about Kendrick and his tactics, what they say his tactics were, which he lost that lawsuit, right? So did they just say, hey, Drake just said some of this stuff, but we could use some of this? Or did Universal say, hey, y'all, I got a couple of dollars for y'all. Go sue somebody for us, right? Let's read. Now, nothing about what I'm reading says anything about Universal. I'm just wondering, like, if we're talking conspiracy theories. Nature of the action. The consumer class action seeks to stop Stake.us, an illegal online gambling platform promoted by Drake, Ross, and Wynn, and used by Drake, Ross, and Wynn to obscure transmissions of money in furtherance of ongoing music botting campaigns. From continuing to prey upon consumers and to impose civil penalties on all defendants to deter future misconduct. Stake.us, a U.S. storefront for Stake.com, has been operating as one of the largest and most profitable illegal online casinos since at least 2022. Stake.us was created and marketed to U.S. consumers as a social casino that purportedly does not permit real money gambling to bypass applicable U.S. federal and Commonwealth of Virginia gambling regulations. Attempting unsuccessfully to hide behind the facade of a safe and free gambling experience, Stake misrepresents itself to regulators and consumers. In reality, it operates as an illegal online casino. Stake offers nearly 2,000 casino games that permits players to place bets using specialized casino chips and to cash out their winnings. Stake offers two types of virtual currency, gold coins and Stake Cash. Gold coins have no monetary value and cannot be converted into real money. However, Stake Cash can be redeemed for cryptocurrency or digital gift cards at a rate of 1 Stake Cash to $1. Stake bundles every purchase of gold coins with Stake Cash. Thus, when a player purchases gold coins to engage in casino games, they are also purchasing Stake Cash. If a player is lucky and wins, they can cash out their Stake Cash for cryptocurrency. But if a player loses their Stake Cash and wishes to continue gambling, they must buy more worthless gold coins, which will be bundled with more Stake Cash. By the way, I've been seeing Drake post this Stake stuff. He was making bets on stuff and all this. I never knew what it was, though. I thought Stake was something like FanDuel or something like that. I didn't know that it was supposedly not real gambling, and they were just, because he was always betting like $100,000, $200,000, $1 million on stuff. I didn't realize it was supposedly fake money. I never knew that. Defendants Drake and Ross were paid by Stake to promote the platform. The two have engaged in live stream gambling, wagering large sums of money that was provided surreptitiously by Stake. In other words, though Drake and Ross purported to be gambling with their own Stake Cash, it was in fact provided to them by the house. By the house meaning the company that's running it, Stake. Through these and other promotions, Stake has bombarded customers with advertisements appearing on social media platforms depicting its games as safe, legal, and fun. But the casino games are illegal in Virginia and throughout the United States and have inflicted harm on consumers across the Commonwealth who have lost real money chasing gambling wins on the Stake platform. Defendants Drake, Ross, and Wynn have also made use of Stake, including through its U.S. storefront Stake.us, to directly transfer money between and amongst themselves using Stake's tipping program, an unlimited and wholly unregulated money transmitter that appears to exist outside the oversight of any financial regulator. Defendants have utilized Stake's tipping program to inter alia, which means amongst other things. I had to look that up. I didn't just know that. That's Latin for amongst other things. So defendants have utilized Stake's tipping program, amongst other things, to transfer gambling proceeds wagered on the Stake platform. In addition, through Stake's tipping function, defendants have financed their combined artificial streaming botting to create fraudulent streams of Drake's music, fabricate popularity, disparage competitors and music label executives, distort recommended algorithms, and distribute financing for all of the foregoing while concealing the flow of funds. At the heart of the scheme, Drake, acting directly and through willing and knowledgeable co-conspirators, has deployed automated bots and streaming farms to artificially inflate play counts of his music across major platforms, such as Spotify. These inauthentic streams, injected via interstate digital pathways, were calibrated to mislead royalty and recommendation engines, manufacture popularity, distort playlists and charts, and divert both value and audience attention. In tandem, this manipulation has suppressed authentic artists and narrowed consumers' access to legitimate content by undermining the integrity of curated experiences. I want to point out the wording here is flawless. I got to look at the bottom to see who these lawyers are. What they're doing is when they say via interstate digital pathways, that's wire fraud. They're saying this is a federal crime. First of all, illegal gambling is a federal crime. So even though that this is like a civil lawsuit right here, this information, let's say they find out like, oh, this is legit and this is what they were really doing, they can get actually arrested for this and sent to prison. So this is not just they're just trying to get money out of Drake. No, they're reporting a crime here. So this is not going to end here if they find whatever evidence these people are referencing here. So, and then they're saying this whole thing is like pretty much what Drake is doing to manipulate the audience, to manipulate the algorithm, is pretty much benefiting him and pushing other artists down in search results and in, playlists and all this other type of stuff, right? Stakes user-to-user tipping and encrypted internal transfer mechanisms have fueled and enabled payments to bot operators and amplifiers to be hidden from public or regulatory view. One example of a publicly documented large value tip is a $100 tipping transfer between Drake and Ross in 2023. In December 2024, Drake gave away large sums of money in partnership with Ross and Stake as part of his Drizmas giveaway. These tips and many others like them cycled among defendants Drake, Ross, and Wynn, underwriting botting and paid engagement campaigns. Days before filing this complaint, Drake gave defendant Ross a $220,000 car as a gift. That definitely happened around Christmas. Stake's platform design, which masks counterparties and camouflages withdrawals as generic transactions, stymie scrutiny and obstruct tracing of illicit proceeds. Tipping proceeds and other transfers on and from Stake went directly or indirectly from defendant Drake to, through, and with the knowledge of assistance of a defendant Ross, and on from there to defendant Wynn. Wynn served as a facilitator and operational broker, alternatively converting stake-based cryptocurrency to cash or receiving cash from stake transfer cryptocurrency proceeds. From there, Wynn interfaced with bot vendors, supervised coordinated amplification strategies, and integrated paid clipping campaigns. The clipping campaigns were facilitated through the clipping service and affiliated networks on X, formerly Twitter, Discord, and Kick platforms. Now, this is one thing that I did realize. I didn't know about it in the moment, but going back, there would be things where there's videos going viral, right? And people in the comments would say, this is a Stake ad. Like, this is not really, like, we're watching the video that we're watching, but really Stake is being subliminally planted in the thing, and you can't it's being advertised to you, but it's subliminal. Like, it's in the background or it's in the wording somewhere. Stake is being advertised, and so I think that's what they're talking about here when they talk about the clipping campaigns. They were using like viral clips to promote Stake, but it wasn't on the forefront. So it's kind of like illegal advertisement because you're supposed to say this is an advertisement. Okay, Kick in turn is a betting platform financially underwritten by the founders of Stake. I didn't know that either. Public posts, chat logs, leaked communication, and other records document Wynn's direct handling of funds through multiple payment platforms, orchestration of narrative surges, and amplification alongside and is an instrument of Drake and Ross. Plaintiffs and the class are Stake users who have been misled by Stake's misrepresentations that Stake is a legal, harmless, and safe gaming site when it is in fact not legal, not harmless, and not safe. Stake preys on consumers in Virginia and nationwide who are lured into real money gambling, exposing consumers to substantial risk of gambling addiction and jeopardizing their and their family's financial well-being. Each of the plaintiffs was influenced to participate and continue to participate after their initial participation on the Stake platform by the online promotion activities of defendant Drake, as viewed by each of the plaintiffs. Plaintiffs have been further damaged by the false marketing manipulations and abuses of defendant Drake, who, by his own public announcements, has been paid some $100 million per year to promote Stake, as well as defendants Ross and Wynn, who have participated directly in the marketing of Stake, as documented in their many online posts across multiple platforms advertising and endorsing Stake. Plaintiffs assert that under the RICO Act and the Virginia Consumer Protection Act, plaintiffs seek treble damages under RICO restitution and disgorgement, injunctive and declaratory relief, attorney's fees and costs, and all other relief deemed just and proper. Okay, jurisdiction and venue. We talked about that a million times. They're just justifying why this should happen in this court. Parties, plaintiffs and class Plaintiffs in the class of stake users within the United States, including the Eastern District of Virginia, who during the relevant period were misled by the marketing practices of defendants and were induced to participate in unlawful gambling on the stake platform. Plaintiffs and the class suffered substantial financial and economic harm as alleged herein. Okay. Defendants' stake is a Cyprus limited company with its principal place of business at this place. Okay, they're in Dallas. Oh, Drake just moved to Texas. Ooh, that's nasty. Through its website and brand Stake.us, corresponding advertisements and promotions included targeted advertisements. Stake intentionally conducts business in Virginia. Defendant Aubrey Grant is a Canadian domiciliary. At all relevant times, Drake engaged in nationally promoted live streams and financial promotions connected to Stake.us that reached this district and caused other harms to class members residing within this district as described herein. Aiden Ross, same thing. Okay, factual allegations. Stake's illegal gambling operation. Stake has operated since at least 2022, one of the largest and most profitable illegal gambling operations, while defendants Drake, Ross, and Wynn promoted the illegal casino to consumers, and enabled recruitment of new American players. Stake is banned from operating in Virginia and indeed anywhere in the United States. Oh, Stake.com. Hold on. So Stake.com is banned from operating in Virginia and indeed anywhere in the United States. Stake.us was created by Stake.com's founders to bypass such restrictions. Oh, they cooked. I didn't know this. Stake.us is almost identical to Stake.com, but both websites offer the same or substantially the same content, including online casino games such as slots, table games, and live dealer games. Additionally, both offer gold coins and stake cash. Stake.us encourages users to play the casino games advertised on its website, and users are allowed to cash out for digital gift card and cryptocurrency. Despite offering online casino games, Stake.us holds itself out as in its terms and conditions as a platform that does not offer real money gambling and claims that no purchase or payment is necessary to participate or play in stake games. The Stake.us homepage claims it provides the ultimate social, safe, and free gaming experience. However, the representations are misleading as players are encouraged to wager gold coins or stake cash or some combination of both on the casino games, confusing consumers into believing they're participating in harmless and free gaming when in fact they're participating in gambling. Here's how it works. Stake offers users two types of virtual currency, gold coins and stake cash. Gold coins do not have monetary value and are described by Stake as solely for entertainment purposes. Stake cash, on the other hand, can be cashed out at a 1-to-1 exchange rate for US dollars and thus serves as the currency with which most bets are made. Users can buy gold coins or earn them through various promotions, and Stake characterizes gold coins as the primary currency for casual gameplay. With each purchase of gold coins, however, Stake bundles a set quantity of stake cash, which has actual monetary value and is the true currency with which Stake users place bets. Indeed, for every dollar spent on purchasing gold coins, Stake bundles nearly equivalent amount of stake cash. For example, on the date of this complaint, a user could purchase 200,000 gold coins and $20.05 in stake cash for $20. This is a horrible scheme if this is what they're really doing, trying to get around betting laws. The Stake.us platform allows users to play casino games such as roulette and virtual slot machines, which are pure games of chance. The outcomes of these games is determined by random numbers generated. Users may bet stake cash on these online casino games with the prospect of a large payout, often many multiples of what was bet. Stake's virtual casino games involve no skill or strategy. Damn, I just seen Drake play that roulette game. I did not know what he was doing. I ain't know. That's crazy. Stake.us also features live dealer games, which allow users to interact with human dealers and experience what it would be like at a land-based casino while you're sitting comfortably at home behind a computer screen or on your mobile device. Stake's live dealer games are filmed in a studio, and players may bet on the results, for example, of the spin of the roulette wheel or the blackjack card. Okay, live dealer games, like the counterpart in brick-and-mortar casinos, are games of chance. Stake thus generates revenue from unwitting and often vulnerable American consumers, incentivizing Stake to continually deceive American consumers and regulators. Stake conducts an illegal gambling business within the meaning of this, including the operating casino-type wagering in violation of multiple state laws involving 5 or more persons, and in substantially continuous operation with substantial daily revenue. Publicly filed civil enforcement and consumer actions across multiple states accuse Stake.us of unlawful gambling operations, including Minnesota, Minnesota, South Carolina, Massachusetts, Alabama, Illinois, California. These allegations are pleaded not for the truth of the underlying claims, but to demonstrate Stake's role, intent, common purpose, and the predicate acts, showing continuity of racketeering activity within the last 10 years. Stake's online operations also violate Virginia's law, which prohibits online gambling. By providing a freely accessible online gambling forum accessible to customers in the Commonwealth, Stake is flagrantly violating Virginia law and jeopardizing the health and safety of Virginia residents. Gambling is a cold addiction. It really is. So they have a lot of laws protecting people from gambling, because it's not just like, oh, we don't want people betting because we can't get a piece. That's not true. They can get a piece. They just know that with gambling comes debauchery, a lot of violence and things. Okay. Another one of the factual acknowledgement segments here. Stake.us's deceptive marketing practices and the role of Drake, Ross, and Wynn. Okay. Stake.com, originally created as an online cryptocurrency casino that could be accessed, albeit unlawfully, by consumers in the United States by use of a VPN, obscuring the user's true locations. Stake.com's founders later developed Stake.us, an almost identical version of Stake.com, to further entrench itself in an online casino. Okay, hold on. Let me see. I got to see if Stake.us is still up right now, because if they're alleging that the government already banned that in America, right? If they're saying America already banned it, and then somebody is pointing out, hey, America, they're still here operating, should they have shut it down immediately? Nope, I just went to the website. It's still up. Oh, wait. Yeah. It's still up, so it ain't been shut down. Okay. Let me see. Stake's founders later developed Stake.us, an almost identical version of Stake.com, to further entrench itself as an online casino platform in the United States. Stake.us advertises that it's a social casino, offers a safe and free gaming experience. This misleading statement deceives consumers into believing that they are participating in harmless gameplay when in fact they are being lured into real money gambling. Drake, Ross, and Wynn have been zealous promoters of Stake. Drake has been paid, by his own admission, $100 million per year for his promotional services. Drake, Ross, and Wynn have further incentive to promote and mask the true nature and extent of their conduct around Stake. Since at least 2022, Drake and those acting under his direction, or so they're saying Drake is the head honcho in all this, including Ross and Wynn, have made use of Stake.com and Stake.us to covertly finance the orchestrated procurement of botting and streaming farm activities to artificially inflate the number of plays attributed to Drake's catalog across multiple digital streaming services such as Spotify, Stake.us. This is a funny thing about this. You can just transfer cryptocurrency. It's an encrypted transfer. You could do that anyway. You don't need to use something like Stake to get Aiden Ross money so he can give it to Wynn, so that Wynn can get with the botters and all. You don't have to use anything else to do that. So if he was doing this loud ass operation publicly through this thing, this would just be idiotic level criminal behavior right here. Like he could have got that money to these people a whole different way. This is just hot right here. Getting with a company that already been banned by the U.S. I don't understand. Stake.us facilitates the covert financing scheme through its user-to-user tipping and internal transfers that effectively obscure the identities of counterparties. Where am I at? Through these mechanisms, withdrawals are recorded merely as Stake transactions, concealing the true origins and recipients. These transactional features enable the concealment, covert routing, and disbursement of funds to bot operators, intermediaries, and amplifiers integral to sustaining and expanding the artificial streaming and amplification operations. For those reasons, among others, Drake and Ross maintain a monetized and closely intertwined relationship with Stake.us. Drake and Ross have exchanged high dollar amounts above U.S. currency transaction report thresholds, tips, during live streams, including a widely publicized six-figure transaction. These live streams are also used to promote Stake and push gambling services onto Drake and Ross's millions of online followers. Specifically, one Kick live stream captured exchange of a $100,000 tip among Drake and Ross via Stake, with another instance evidencing a $10,000 tip. Additional stream recordings reiterated substantial exchanges between Drake and Ross routed through Stake, with ongoing streams of funds and information and belief totaling in the millions of dollars, amounts which, upon information and belief, have underwritten continued botting and amplification efforts. Just days before the complaint was filed, Drake gifted a $220,000 car. Okay. Let me see if any of this is different. Oh, when is Grand Wizard chat, nigga? What? Whoa, academics. You better be easy. Your name get up in this. When known online as Grand Wizard Chat Nigga, or Grand Wizard CN. I did not know Grand Wizard Chat Nigga was an Asian boy. Functioned and appears to continue to function as a broker and operational facilitator for these schemes. He is publicly connected to Weekdays Capital and the clipping service, which orchestrated paid clippings campaigns intrinsically tied to streaming numbers and influencer content, including campaigns involved in Drake and Ross. When actively promoted and participated in their clipping Discord servers and received direct payments from the clipping administrators and separately from the co-conspirators. What? Wen's public posts include corroboration by Ross, who on stream declared, "I'm friends with Grand Wizard, that's my dog," while tagging Drake's account. Drake has bet large sums on Stake and live streamed the event, further promoting Stake to his millions of followers. Stake.us publicly stated that Drake has been a longtime member of the Stake community, and ultimately a partnership was formed in which a new gaming experience which allows users to have a chance to win big alongside Drake. This type of giveaway will be the magnitude unforeseen before. Drake's journey from the player to a partner is documented on Stake's web properties, while Drake's social media accounts identify his partnership with Stake. During live stream events, Drake and Ross have made large bets on Stake using house money provided by Stake. This conduct simply encourages and influences the large fan base of Drake and Ross to make similarly large and or unwise bet, yet using Stake cash they purchased themselves. Consumer harms. Okay. Stake.us, a website developed by Stake.com, misrepresents to consumers that it offers safe, free, and legal gaming services when, in fact, it functions as an illegal online casino. Stake characterizes itself as a... Let me see if I can... because this is... Additional allegations related to RICO violations. Defendants Stake, Drake, Ross, and Wen, together with bot vendors, streaming farm operators, and other facilitators known and unknown, associated to form an association, in fact, enterprise within the meaning of... This looks like they try to damn near write the indictment for the U.S. attorney. The enterprise's common purpose was to facilitate illegal online gambling and conceal, route, and distribute proceeds of the scheme through Stake.us pseudo and anonymous payments trail, using proceeds and other funds to enrich themselves and artificially inflate streaming counts for Drake's catalog. Roles and relationships were stable, continuous. Stake at all times served as a gambling platform and money transfer conduit through which payments could be concealed. Drake was paid to promote Stake and made and received payments through Stake and directed and benefited from artificial streaming and narrative amplification. Ross was paid to promote Stake and finance, promoted and facilitated the routing of value, including via public and private tipping and large value transfers on Stake. While coordinating amplification with Wynn further promoted Stake, sent and received payments through his tipping system, and brokered and interfered with bot vendors or interfaced with bot vendors and paid amplification pipelines, including through weekday capital and clipping service. The enterprise engaged in and affected interstate and foreign commerce through the use of nationally accessible platforms, interstate wires, and cross-border payment and settlement networks. Okay. Y'all might be cooked. I ain't gonna lie. Y'all might be cooked. I mean, if what they're saying in here is true, I don't know how y'all get around this. Drake, you might have to go back to Canada, my boy. Just to lay low for a little bit. They asking for relief, but it seems like they're asking for y'all to be sued. For y'all to get some criminal charges. I'm not gonna lie, this is looking real criminal chargy. So George Costo, Richard Costo, in Arlington, Virginia. Let me look these legal. Let me see, man. Let me see what's up with them. I got to figure this one out because I wonder who put them up to this. I mean, not that I'm going to be able to figure it out, but I just wonder. Let me see here. Let me see if I can figure this out. Okay, there you go. Let me see if I can figure this out here. Let's see what George Costa was talking about. Because I always like to look the lawyers up when I see a lawsuit like this. Let's figure out who's representing these people. And I'm not saying I'm knocking it. I'm interested. The company is called Impressa Law Group. So old Georgie, is a principal at Impressa. He focuses his practice on litigation, trial advocacy, dispute resolution, and strategic advice regarding real estate investment and community development. He serves as a director of the Alexandria Chamber of Commerce, board of directors, and the New Hope Housing. He has served as the chair of the Wesley Housing Development Corporation and is a commissioner of the Historic Resource Commission of the City of Alexandria. George has been a commercial litigation partner in the Pulcinelli, Nelson Mullins, Reed Smith, and Hazel and Thomas firms. While he has litigated jury and bench trials nationwide for over 20 years, he has a particular experience with the rocket docket of the Eastern District of Virginia. Here's something this is dangerous for Drake and them boys. Because usually you would think like, all right, Universal is not going to let Drake get in trouble for nothing like that. So now he no longer has the protection and resources of Universal because Drake tried to sue them, right? Stake has already been punished by the government before and they had their stuff banned, so they have no government coverage. Aiden Ross is a nobody, so he's not getting covered by anybody. This man right here is based out in the D.C. area. If they're saying, hey, we're accusing them of breaking government laws and things like that, he probably been plugged in with the right people already to say, we're going to make sure that the jurisdiction and venue of this is here where we don't play around. Everybody, this is the thing about the government, right? The government operates everywhere in this country, right? But everybody who has been in the military knows that the East Coast, especially Virginia, is the strictest place where the government operates in this country. Military laws, they're strict in Virginia. They don't play around. They want to go everything by the book. If you out of line, your ass going to jail. You're going on probation. It's no beating it, right? They don't have no, you know what I'm saying? It's not the type of place where you're going to be like, oh, I'm plugged in with these people so I can get out of stuff. Like, that's not happening there. Your ass is going to jail up in that Virginia area. Drake is not plugged in up there. Not enough to avoid this. So while they're saying that, yo, you've been helping promote this illegal gambling operation, This is a RICO. They're calling this a RICO thing. I don't know if they'll get like RICO charges, but wire fraud and stuff like that, that could be coming from this. That could be coming. This could get bad for them boys. I'm not gonna lie. I honestly would like to hear their lawyers rebut this, because I need to figure out, like, is what they're saying true? Are y'all really transferring money for botting? Somebody leaked documents about Grand Wizard Chat nigga, about when. Exposing the fact that he had been interfacing with bots and stuff like that, moving Drake's money and Aiden Ross's money around so that Drake can get bots to keep his numbers inflated, to keep the algorithm in his favor and stuff like that. Is this, like, what? Is this what y'all are doing? This is embarrassing. Not for me, for y'all. That's the white community stuff. Like Drake and his Jewish side, Aiden Ross is Jewish. Like, this is some white stuff y'all doing. I ain't gonna lie. Because y'all are openly attempting, like, what's the point of putting this all in front of people? That's the part I don't get. Because y'all could have transferred cryptocurrency to each other secretly already. You don't need to do this to do that. Excuse me. So that's why I don't even know if it's true or not. Because would they be stupid enough to do this when cryptocurrency is already private? Why put the operation on the forefront just to make private transactions? I mean, it don't make sense to me, but who knows, man? And that's all I got for y'all tonight, man. Today, whatever it is, whenever you listen to it, man, I appreciate y'all for tapping in, for listening to the whole situation. Shout out to Ketuan for joining us. Super interesting story. You know, I like that type of stuff right there. Please make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you comment your thoughts below. Make sure you share. Take little clips if you agree with something that's said. If you disagree with something that's said. Shout out to the Sunbelt Developers Podcast for allowing me to use that clip. I'm hoping they allow me to use it. We'll see. But, man, y'all have a good evening, good weekend, good day, good night, all that easy.